Hey, what's going on, dudes and dudettes? Brad the Guitologist here. In this video, we're going to wrench around on a couple of old things that I pulled out of storage. So I'm moving some things around. This was a couple of things that turned up that I'd forgotten that I had. These are a couple of Japanese, what I believe to be Japanese, well, obviously they're Japanese, what I believe to be late 60s tape recorders, reel to reel. This one is labeled a Peerless TP-425. And that is the only place where there's any kind of label on this thing, is right there. The rest of this stuff, it's got a little cute little lock mechanism right there for that front piece, but that's just interesting to me, the way that comes apart. These are both battery powered. Very kind of minimalist. Play, record, stop, rewind, fast forward. Right there on that little rocker, and then you've got a volume. There's no on-off switch on it. Basically, the off switch is in the stop position, the middle position. It's got a jack for a microphone and a headphone right there, or extension. I guess that stands for extension or phones. Just an interesting little guy. I mean, look at that color. It's like a sea foam kind of. Then we've got Japan stamped right down there. In case we really didn't know where it came from, it's fairly obvious. Anybody who's messed around with enough of this old equipment, you can kind of tell the stuff that was made in Japan. It's just, it has a distinctive kind of, I don't know, there's just something about it. It's kind of hard to put a finger on what it is, but they were dealing in a lot of stuff kind of this ilk and quality level from Japan at this time. This takes two different forms of battery. So it has a 9-volt battery hookup right here, and then it has a spot for UM2 batteries. I'm guessing they look like they're C size to me. You notice the positives are on the same end right here. These batteries are basically in parallel instead of like what you usually see batteries, which are in series. So it's trying to deliver, I guess it's trying to deliver maximum current or capacity, I guess, which I think C's aren't C batteries, 1.5 volts. I'll have to look that up, but I'm not even sure if that is C batteries. We've got some very crumbly foam there on that battery door. I'm just going to leave that off for a bit. We'll clean that foam off of there, what's left of it. This one, as you can already see, is still in the original Japan stamped packaging here. By the way, these also came with some tapes when I got them. No idea what's on any of the tapes. Most of them are blank. A lot of people back in the day would buy these tapes, and instead of spending a lot of money on the phone, where long distance calls would cost you an arm and a leg, particularly if it was like a cross country or God forbid, transatlantic or something like that, people would pick up these tapes and fill them up with their voices and just put postage on them and send them through the mail like this. You just drop this in the mail, and then the person would have a, however long this lasted, recording of their loved one from across the sea. So very interesting. I've already tried to play one of the tapes, and it sounded like it was hard to make out what exactly it was, but it sounded like it might be a guy playing guitar, like a solo acoustic guitar. So this could be interesting. If we can get one of these working really well, we may try to play one of these and get whatever's on here off of here. So we've got one tape here. I've got another tape on this machine already threaded up, and here's a tape that's probably got something on it. You can just tell because it's got it's been used. It's at least been threaded on a machine for some period of time. This one, that's brand new. Nothing on that one. This one This tape looks relatively brand new, but it could still have something on it, possibly. This one's unthreaded as well, but no, I don't know. That looks like it's probably brand new also. We got another one of these. It's blank. And a couple more down here too. At least one of which looks like it's probably got stuff on it. That's got stuff on it too, I think. So it looks like we may have 4 or 5 of these with recordings, maybe even 6 with recordings on them. So could be interesting to go through these if we get one of these machines up and going. And you know, obviously these tape machines aren't worth a lot, but if this turns out to be some, you know, I don't know, late 60s or early 70s recordings of some unknown talent, or even some known talent, would be pretty amazing. To me, that's the value of this old stuff, is finding tapes like that. You guys may have seen some of my videos of the old interviews with Johnny Cash and stuff. If you haven't, I'll put links up here so you can check all that stuff out. Carl Perkins. But yeah, old tapes are really cool when you find stuff on them that's interesting. Okay, this is a nice one. This is in really good shape. This the white, the colors are still really vibrant on the plastic. I mean, look at that blue right there. Really vibrant, kind of turquoise, I guess you would say. Nuvox is the name on this one, but it has a very similar feel to the other one. It's got play record, a similar type of switch for play and record, microphone and earphone just like the other one, volume knob, and also stop, rewind, and forward. It has a little handle on it, and it won't come open unless you rock the handle back and move them out of the way of this little piece right here. You can see right there, that'll stay shut until you move that handle out of the way, and then you can open it up and the top will come off. And like I said, I've already threaded this tape onto this one. You can see here also this has a model number, an NR-444 is the model number on this little thing. And you can see how small it is. You know, it's not huge. This is probably one of the smallest reel-to-reel recorders that I've seen from this era. Just really compact compared to the, you know, the big machines. Same setup here. Once again, we have a 9-volt battery over here. It recommends an Ever-Ready. You can barely just make out what it's saying down there. It says Ever-Ready, what, VS323, 9 volt. You can just barely make out Ever-Ready right there. Which is, it's interesting that they actually pick a brand. You know, maybe they were affiliated somehow. And then you've got, once again, you've got 2 batteries here, and you'll notice that the positive leads are facing the center, like right here. So again, probably for maximum capacity with the same voltage. So, yeah, you know, I've already tried this one to get something going on this one, and the 9-volt side powers the amplifier, I'm pretty sure, while this side powers the movement. The movement actually works on this. I can get it to move, and I'll demonstrate that. I don't have any C batteries, but I do have a bench power supply. I think the voltage is probably going to be about 1.5 volts, somewhere in that sort of vicinity. The contacts are really corroded though, so I may have to clean those off. Hang on, let me see. Where's my contact cleaner? There we go. I may actually have to come in here and scrub these contacts. try to scratch something in with the gator clip for a minute so we can at least demonstrate it. That's me turning the voltage up and down here. I believe it's moving. I believe the okay. Yeah, it's moving. I just don't think it has the torque. Yeah, you see there? See how I can stop it? So something's going on where it just doesn't have the torque to be able to pull both of these. I may have to lubricate it. So we know the mechanism works, but we're gonna have it. But it needs some work. They have the motors down in here sideways on this, and the shaft is. You're not gonna be able to see it like I can see it here, I don't think. But the shaft is going this way and spinning like this, and then it's rotating this rubber piece here on the spindle. So what is this? Man, that's tough to get out of there. There, maybe you can tell. Yeah, you can see the motor there, but it's definitely got an issue. I'll tell you what, let's. You see how easy it is to stop. Interesting. Okay, so the two motors are like on this little rocker. The play motor has no, it has nothing on the shaft, but the rewind motor, you can see there's something on the shaft. There's like a brass, there's a large brass piece to adjust the gear ratio. Yeah, it could just be a matter of this also being a little bit dirty. The reason it didn't have enough torque. Or it could be worn, you know, on this piece. I do have some, I believe I've got some belt dressing liquid for like dressing automotive belts. Yeah, some belt conditioner, yeah. This stuff. I think I'm just going to address the underside of this to see if we can't get it a little more tacky so that it'll go better. It could also be a case of the motors themselves. I could also lubricate this middle bit too. I'll lubricate this center shaft for sure. I'll lubricate this. I'll make this more tacky. May even lubricate the shaft on the motor itself, which could help. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it real well, but it's almost like this stuff gets kind of soaked into the rubber as you apply it. Could also serve to condition it just a little bit. Or to clean it, I mean. All right. There we go. Now you can see that soaking in. You can really feel this stuff. It's very sticky. I'm probably going to need some lighter fluid or something to clean the mess off the desk. It's kind of, you know, it's already tacked up. Just try some alcohol and see if that neutralizes it or cleans some of it up. It's really tacky out here on the desk. All right. Yeah, I think that might be okay. All right, now let's lubricate that center spindle right there. We'll put some, we're gonna put some white lithium grease on there. Most vintage lubricants that they used on this old stuff, by the time you get it today, it has long since turned into more of a glue than a lube. Okay, I definitely think this is gonna have more torque now. Put the clip back on. And let's see. Well, maybe not. It might also need some adjusting on the angle of the motor too. It's possible. Go ahead and lubricate this other spindle over here. Most of the resistance would be coming from, when it's in play mode, forward mode, it would be coming from this side over here, because that's the side with the most tape on it anyway. This motor over here has to drag everything that's over here, so it's going to encounter a lot of resistance this way. Going to go ahead and treat this with the belt conditioner as well over here. This belt conditioner you can get at any automotive store. I'll put links in the description if you want to pick up this stuff at Amazon or whatever too. You can get this stuff. But basically what it's for is restoring the tackiness to rubber parts. You know, it's also supposed to you know, help with longevity as well. I don't know how true that is, but I could see where it might get on there and protect it. The main thing with rubber parts, vintage rubber parts, is that they usually end up drying out and cracking. These look to be in pretty good shape though. It's interesting the way that this drives, because it drives off the bottom of the rubber part, so none of this the top stuff on this really doesn't matter, or the sides, as on a lot of equipment like this. You know, the drive is done on the edge, whereas on this one it's really done on the bottom. Okay, we'll wipe off some of the excess. And same thing over here. Try not to get it everywhere like last time. There we go. Also go ahead and spray a little bit inside the shaft. You know, you try to be finicky with this stuff, and then half the time it just squirts out everywhere all of a sudden. I guess I could have cleaned that first, but oh well. It's not hard to come back and do it if it doesn't work. We're just trying to get it to the point where it'll work enough to see what's on these tapes. Really, it would be really cool to listen to them on this one of these machines. I'm not sure which one they were recorded on originally, but like I said, they did come with both of these machines when I got them. I got these. These came from an estate sale. Apparently, they were picked up by my mom and my stepdad for me, in with a whole bunch of other stuff. I mean, they brought me piles of stuff one day that they got from this estate sale. They said the guy had been some kind of electronics tech. He had piles and piles of stuff out in outbuildings. Some of the buildings had just dirt floors. And at one point, when they were going through all of this stuff, they said they uncovered a nest of snakes, and everybody kind of scattered. And, you know, some of the people who were getting stuff out of there kind of ran away in fear, as you would, you know, if you've uncovered a nest of snakes at an estate sale, you know, in this outbuilding with dirt floors. I mean, you could picture the kind of place. You can sort of smell it in your mind, can't you? But that's what these came out of. And this is really clean, though. I mean, it was stored inside of its original packaging, and it shows. It's really, really good shape. Let's see what... All right, well, that appears to be working okay. We are definitely gonna have to open this up anyway. I should have probably just left those off. Well, I don't think it really matters, because this whole top bit should just come off in one piece, I would think. We are gonna have to see what's going on with the amplifier, because there's nothing. And I don't think it's just a matter of a bad connection on the little power cables or the connector. There's something definitely going on. Let me see if this will at least spin with a tape on it. And if it won't, we'll just go ahead and go forward with the repair on the amplifier, and maybe in the process while we're in there, we'll see what else there is to lubricate. You know, the motors, I'm sure, need lubrication too. Let's see. Okay, the rewind works with a tape on there. So that's good, at least. Now let's see if the play works. And it does. Ooh, I hear something. You're gonna have a hard time hearing it. Hang on. Let me get this down here for you. So there is some amplification going on there, but it's not very much. So we definitely have a problem with the amplifier. I would say, given the symptoms, there's probably a bad transistor. That's my guess. Because we're getting output, but it's very, very low. It's also possible that, you know, we just got a bunch of bad capacitors in here. Okay, so there's a second song on there as well. Let's go ahead and open this thing up, and we'll see what's going on with the amplifier, hopefully. It sounds like there might be something pretty cool on the tape. Some old country songs. But look how clean it is. I mean, that's pretty clean under there. I mean, it's got a little bit of stuff, but that's not bad at all. I mean, this is probably one of the cleanest vintage tape players I've ever seen. I would say it didn't see much use, maybe because maybe it screwed up early in its life, you know. Not much to it at all. Good news and bad news. The good news is the same as the bad news. How often do you hear that? So the good news is, I should give you the bad news first. The bad news is this thing is full of these Rubicon capacitors. Every one of them is these late 60s, early 70s Japanese Rubicon capacitors. These are the worst capacitors pretty much in existence. I don't think I've ever seen worse capacitors in old equipment. 99.9% of the time, those are bad. So that would give me a good explanation, which is the good news, of why this thing isn't working. And there isn't much to it. There isn't much at all to this amplifier. So this is going to be an easy one to fix. This should be a piece of cake. I think the thing to do here, we're not going to try to track down what specifically, you know, which stage we have. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 transistors. Some of probably one of those will be involved at least in biasing for the head. The rest will be probably involved in amplification. It could also be that one or more of those is bad. We'll test those as we go. But I think the thing to start out doing here would be to replace all of those crappy capacitors. Okay, so I'm going to start just recapping this thing one cap at a time. I guess I'll start with the one that's furthest on the end over here. Like I said, I'm not really interested in trying to go through this and diagnose which exact cap or stage is bad. That's not my goal here. I want the thing to work, and I know that these caps are bad. These are the worst caps on the planet, and there's no sense in even screwing around with them. It's gonna just be hours of dilly-dallying, really, to be honest with you, when you know for a fact these caps are bad. All right, orientation on the cap. That's as important on all of these. Okay, the positive side has to go to this end. Positive side up this way. All right, now we'll go for this big boy. This is 100 microfarad at 10 volts. All right. Keep the orientation. And the positive is going downward on that one. This is not really necessary to do, but I'm going to do it anyway. All right, 2 down. You see, this is much easier than sitting here trying to diagnose all these caps. I mean, it's just, there's not even that many of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there's only 5 of them. So just knock them out and move on with your day. That's my philosophy on that one. Yeah, I need my fine tip really for this. For my iron. I mean, this will work, but it's not ideal. Anybody want to take bets on whether or not just recapping it's going to fix it? I'm kind of curious myself. I'd say the chances are about 50-50 that just recapping it's going to fix it. Given the symptoms, like I said, these caps are the worst there are, really. Positive goes upward on this one. But yeah, I'd say the other main problem could be with one of these transistors. It's quite possible you got a bad transistor in this thing. That would also fit the symptoms for sure, because of just how low volume it was. I mean, my first instinct was transistor bad. Of course, you know, over the years, it doesn't help your perception when you've had enough pieces of equipment like this that had both bad transistors and bad capacitors, like those Rubicons. But those Rubicon transistors, they're definitely a problem. No doubt about it. Okay, so there's the recap. Let's test it. All right. With the mechanism, one of the things I can see with the wow and flutter that was going on, it seemed like, you know, obviously I don't know whether the voltage is correct or not yet, but with the wow and flutter that was going on, I think tensioning that spring right there in the middle, see that spring? That spring is responsible for for the tension of the shaft up on the rubber bit. So when this is engaged, this spring, you watch how it works. I'm going to put it into forward. You see how the mechanism tilts to the side like this. So the whole thing tilts like this. This end comes up to meet here, and the other side goes down. So it tilts like this. This spring is providing upward pressure. If I push this down, you see you get nothing. So I think this spring right here, if I tighten up this spring, so if I take maybe a couple of turns off of it and tighten that up, that's going to put more upward pressure against this. So I think we'll be less likely to slow down and warble and all that stuff. So let's go ahead and throw the tape back on it and see if it gets any louder. You know, like I said, at this point, just having not heard a bunch of static and stuff when I was messing around with it just then, because it's on full blast, the volume, and you would have thought you would have got some static or something more out of the speaker. Okay, so it's louder than it was. I don't have to get the microphone right down on it for you to be able to hear it, I'm sure. So it's definitely louder. That helped recapping it. But we have a bad transistor somewhere for sure. So we're going to have to go through and trace signal. So the first thing we'll do is we'll trace the line coming in from the head, because that's going to be where the signal originates, is from the head. So we'll trace that down to the board, and then we'll just go through like that step by step and see where the signal is going and where it might be dropping. The problem with trying to troubleshoot this with a signal trace is that this has to be playing and all the electronics are on the bottom of the board, so it's going to be kind of hard to it's going to be kind of hard to trace the signal while something is playing. Yeah, well, maybe we can get to it here. So it looks like the signal comes up to this point on the very corner here of the board. Well, first it goes down here to the switch. It goes from the head down to the play record switch over here. You see it coming in over here, that yellow wire, to this switch. And on one side of the switch, it's going to come up here through this wire to the edge of the board right there. Battery terminal's kind of in the way, isn't it? Get that out of the way. Yeah, comes up, you'll see it coming in right there. So that yellow wire goes to that terminal, which comes down to here, which is a capacitor. Interesting. Yeah, let me stare at this for a few minutes and we'll kind of see where we need to go from here. Alright, one thing I can already kind of see is that the headphone jack and the microphone jack both have these grounded terminals on them. So I'm going to spray those. I don't know if there has to be a complete circuit through that. That's usually the way those work. That's way too big to fit into that. What am I going to be able to clean that with? The earphone one certainly will need to be cleaned, because I'm pretty sure that one is gonna you see there? Okay, so it's getting signal through that jack when it's I'm simulating plugging something into it right here. I'm just disconnecting that grounded terminal. So we are getting something there. We've got a bad transistor for sure. We just need to figure out which one it is. Pretty certain that's the problem here. That's interesting. I was just looking at this mechanism while it was going. I was wondering what this thing is right here, because it's kind of scraping up against that when it's down. And what I think that is a lint collector, probably. It's, to collect big pieces of lint so it doesn't get stuck into the motor. That's my guess. I don't see any other reason for it. All right, I think the next thing to do, since there are so few resistors in this unit, probably the thing to do now would be just to test all the resistors in it. We're just going to go through one at a time and do them all, because this being a transistorized unit, you know, transistors need to see a very specific range of voltages for them to operate. They're not like tubes. Tubes are very forgiving. They have wide ranges of voltages under which they'll still operate, even if they're kind of way out of spec. A lot of times you'll see tube equipment that is so far out of spec, it's just you don't even know how it's even still going, but it is. But that's not the case at all with solid state stuff. So we're going to have to go through and just see if these are even. We may have something shorted. And it's best to find out now before we get too far along. Well, I think I want to start taking. I think I want to do some signal tracing here. Try to determine which of these. Should I just pull the transistor or start signal tracing? I think the thing to do would be probably. There's only 4 transistors in this. I think the thing to do might be to just go ahead and start pulling transistors and testing them outside of the unit. Because I believe one or more of them is going to end up being bad anyway. A 2SB75, it looks like, is a germanium PNP transistor. It's coming up just fine. So it's not that one. All right, let's stick that one back in there. Make sure we put it the right way for sure. Okay, so here is transistor number 2. Looks like on these Hitachi transistors, they have the collector labeled with some kind of mark. On the other one, they had it with a triangle. On this one, they have it with a little dot. Let's try this one. That came right up. Another PNP. This one's a different number, though. It's a 2SB32. Not that one. Just 2 transistors left. I'm kind of wondering if maybe. I'm wondering if my 9-volt battery is a little low. I guess it's possible. Probably should have checked that first, shouldn't I? Should have checked my 9-volt battery. It is. Look at that. Ha! Okay. Alright, so this is going to be a lesson in first principles when dealing with stuff. Look at this. My 9-volt battery is 8.5 volts. Now, that doesn't mean that it absolutely won't work, but it does mean clearly that it can have an effect. Let me get a fresh 9-volt battery if I have one. I'll have to look around and see if I've even got one. And we'll hook it up. I might even have to dig it out of this tester right here. Either way, we'll get 9 volts on this, and we'll see if we can't get it to make a little bit louder noise. That's dumb. What an idiot. I've got a power supply hooked up to the 9-volt. Now it's a separate power supply. We'll flip this thing over and see if we can't get something to sound correctly. I'm thinking it's definitely going to be louder. what the voices sound like. Interesting. I mean, that sounds pretty plain as day. You know, I would think with the size of the speaker being what it is, it's a very good possibility that that's as loud as this thing ever got. I think the thing to do now would be to rewind it and see if we can't get a signal directly off of the earphone jack and see if we can get this tape and maybe some of the other tapes off of here. I will say this though, it doesn't look like the head is very well aligned. You notice this thing has guides right here on this post. It has an indentation, and over here on this one it has an indentation. But if you look at the tape where it goes over the head, there's a little bit of the magnetic portion of the head kind of sticking up there. Are you going to be able to see that? Is this thing ever going to focus on what I want it to focus on anymore? Sorry about that. You see that little bit of that magnetic portion sticking up. I feel like, and then there's almost nothing on the bottom. I feel like the head is up too far, maybe. I don't know. Or perhaps maybe I can adjust these little posts and screw them out a little bit to raise the tape up. Maybe that would give it more signal.
There are so many flirty guys with flirty ways, and I'm so afraid to try to steal your love from you someday. But don't do it, darling, your love belongs to me. Oh, please don't let them think your heart is fancy. that they need your love, so why not make a change? But don't you do it, darling, your love belongs to me. Oh, please don't let them blind you, I still love you, can't you see? Don't do it, darling, your heart belongs to me. They'll offer you a mansion as to if you'll be their queen. So they can give you riches, make your life a happy dream. Don't do it, darling, that ring belongs to me. Oh, sure they'll try to buy your love with riches such as these. So don't do it, darling, that heart belongs to me.
Testing, 1, 2. Testing, 1, 2. This is Stephen Lynn's first recording at 4.5 months old. Stephen Lynn at 13 months old.
Okay, so here's the second machine. I have this one already plugged up to everything. It's got a lot of rust on this little shaft over here that drives, and you can see it a little bit better when I turn the other side on. That shaft is just really rusty. It's just rusty kind of to the point where it's sort of misshapen. You see what I mean? It does work. It drives the thing, but you can see a point where it seems to skip or jump off of the wheel somewhat. You see this one also has some cracks and stuff in the wheel, and this is an edge drive like I was describing earlier. Went ahead and squirted a little bit of zoom spout down at the base of each of those motors, so It should run a little bit smoother. Could also go ahead and pull these off and lubricate those as well. Gonna get it off of there? Maybe not. Doesn't seem. There might be a nut on the other end. Feels like there's a nut on the other end or something that's holding it for sure. Do you know what though? I bet you I could get some zoom spout in there at least. Squirt a little bit of zoom spout right in there. And maybe it'll work its way down on that shaft. I'm guessing it's probably gonna. Yeah, it seemed like I could hear it speeding up just a little bit there. The amp works on this one. It's louder than the other one, I believe. I am kind of curious about something though. I wonder.